3 years, 25 courses, hours, weeks of blood and sweat, and it all comes down to a B average. How was law school, Mr. Ford? Oh, it was fine. It was B. Above average, but nothing great.
You've got the rest of your life to look forward to.
Yeah. Only I had the insane hope that when I added all these up, I'd come up with a B+, and I could have graduated with honors.
I'm sorry, Miss Harriman, but the official status of graduating third-year students isn't available till after the 5th of the month. You'll be informed very shortly whether or not you're graduating with honors.
Well, I know I'm graduating with honors, Mrs. Delafield. I just want to know if I'm going to make summa cum laude.
As I've said, you'll be informed.
Look, I'd like to know so that I can order the correct stripes for my graduation gown. With summa cum laude, I graduate wearing a gown with red bars and a hood. With magna cum laude, high honors, I'd only wear the red bars.
I'm sure you'll look absolutely smashing, Miss Harriman, with or without the hood.
Harriman, did they come out with the honors list yet?
No. What do you expect? Keeping us in suspense is a way of life around here. So what are you dressed up for?
I'm interviewing Robinson and Brown.
Oh, Zeiss. You don't want to work for Robinson and Brown?
Why?
They're contingent fee class action lawyers, riverboat gamblers. If you're mad at anyone, Robinson and Brown will file a lawsuit against them for you. They're legal blackmailers.
Mr. Zeiss, come in, please. Thank you for coming, Mr. Zeiss. Sit down. Okay, Mr. Zeiss, I won't beat around the bush. We have one opening, 53 applicants. We make unusual demands on our associates. Why should you be the one we hire?
I like Robinson and Brown. I like your gutsy approach. Instead of telling clients that they can't sue, you tell them you'll find a way. Like the asbestos case, for instance.
That was a difficult litigation. There are a lot of people who feel that 20 years ago, companies didn't know that asbestos could possibly cause cancer, so how could they be liable for damages now?
Yes, but that company made profits off the sale of asbestos for 20 years. They should bear the burden of the damages. And in any case, the doctrine of strict liability should apply to employees as well as consumers.
I see you're familiar with the case, Mr. Zeiss. That's typical of our approach.
Which is exactly why I'd be right for your firm. Miss Robinson, I don't want to beat around the bush either. I've worked hard here. I've been on law review, done well at moot court, learned good litigation skills, and my record is very good. I'm graduating magna cum laude.
Honors? Very impressive, Mr. Zeiss. That puts you in the top 5% of your class.
I cannot believe that you're actually going to sue. I told you I'm going to replace the rose bushes. I even bought Princess a new collar. No, she cannot chew through it again. It's guaranteed. Well, Elizabeth, all I can say is your nephew is the kind of person that gives lawyers a bad name.
Any messages?
No.
Is everything all right?
Everything's fine.
Back! Animals, back! All right, ladies and gentlemen, gather around, because this is it. The culmination of your career at the school. I carry with me the official notice from the registrar's office as to the awarding of honors. And inside the envelope says whether or not you made honors. Mr. James Hart?
Hey, Jimmy, good luck. Jimmy, good luck. Come on, Jimmy. Let's hope.
Miss Rita Harriman.
Yeah, Rita. Nice. Good luck, Rita.
Martin Zeiss, is he here?
Zeiss. Good luck, Zeiss.
Norman Mark. Jennifer Slauson.
Aren't you going to open it?
Yeah.
What's the problem, Hart? Are you so sure you're going to graduate summa cum laude that you're not going to bother to look?
Harriman, the truth is I'm a 1L at heart, okay? I'm afraid to look.
You'll just have to be satisfied with an ordinary degree.
Please, could you please check? Maybe the computer made an error.
Have you any quarrel with any grade that you received in any particular class? Has any grade been incorrectly listed in any report to you?
No.
Then we can assume that the computer had the correct information, can we not?
Maybe.
Correct information in, correct information out. I'm sorry, Mr. Zeiss, but I deal with the grades of over 1,500 law students a year, and every one of them wishes that he or she had done better. In the end, everyone has to settle with what he got and what he is.
Here you'll find a listing of all my grades. First year, second year, third year.
Yes.
Now, on page 3 and 4, I've averaged all the grades. The net result, as you see, is that my grade average is B+. Now, my understanding is that a B+ average qualifies a student to graduate magna cum laude with high honors. Should be a fairly simple matter to correct, sir.
It's not quite that simple.
Why?
You see, Mr. Zeiss, for the purposes of the transcript, your letter grade is sufficient. But for the purposes of determining honor, we need to be more exact. Each professor is required to turn in numerical grade plus a letter grade. When it's time to determine honors, we average all the numerical grades. Thus, we can determine a student's grade point average out to 3 decimal places. An 85.00 is a magna. An 84.999 is not good enough. I'm afraid that when we average your numerical grade, we came up short.
We were never even told about the existence of any numerical grading system. How can a person's record at law school be measured in terms of 3 decimal places? You can't measure people with a ruler.
Mr. Zeiss, we don't measure our students with a ruler. We examine them with an electron microscope. We only give honors when we find enough. Perhaps the best thing for you to do is to be happy with what you've achieved and enjoy your graduation.
I want all the facts.
Then, there's only one person authorized to give them to you.
Here are the background documents used to arrive at your degree level.
Thank you, sir.
As the dean explained to you, in order to graduate magna cum laude, your grade point average must be at least 85. Your average is 84.966. It is disappointing, I admit, to come so close to attaining honors.
But wait. You gave me a B+ in your contracts class. That should be an 85, but here you've given a numerical grade of 81.
You will find that most professors in the first year grade not only the exams, but also the classroom performance.
You graded classroom performance?
Yes, Mr. Zeiss.
So whether I graduate with honors depends on how well I answered questions in your contracts class 3 years ago?
Yes, in a sense.
How can you grade classroom performance? I want to appeal.
There is no appeal. In these cases, I sit as both judge and jury.
No appeal.
Mr. Seiss, perhaps you're placing too much importance on the issue of honors.
Well, damn it, it is important. Maybe that's not obvious to someone whose career is honor piled on honor. I feel like a failure.
You can hardly call it failure to be graduating from this school.
Did you know my grade point average is only .034 below what you need for magna cum laude?
Ouch, that is close.
You want to know how close? If I had done better with the Socratic method, talked better in Kingsfield's contracts class 3 years ago, I'd have honors now. You think IBM or General Motors cares how good you are with the Socratic method? All they care about is whether you can write a valid contract and understand the Internal Revenue Code. Only Kingsfield thinks that you can grade classroom performance.
It's a little bit late to be raising these issues, don't you think?
They take death penalty right up until the second they execute the prisoner.
Yeah, but this isn't a death penalty.
Could be for my career.
Oh, you haven't heard from Robinson and Brown yet?
You want to know something? I told them I was going to graduate with honors. Now I've got to go back and tell them I didn't. Think they're going to hire me?
Just tell them you made a mistake. They'll understand.
And what if they don't?
Oh, Seiss, I sympathize. But at this point, I don't really see that there's much that you can do.
I don't either. But I know where I can check my options. So Kingsfield tells me that I'm .034 below what I need for Magna.
I somehow had the crazy thought that once I graduated, I'd be able to forget about law school.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can see how busy you are.
Seiss, take my advice. Swallow your pride and forget about how you graduate. It's not going to matter to you 6 months from now.
You think the fact that you graduated SUMA didn't help you get this job?
Maybe it did, and maybe it didn't. But it's not going to get me home any earlier tonight.
You remember the first day of Kingsfield's class?
Who doesn't?
When he explained about the grading system, he didn't say anything about number grades, did he?
Well, as I recall, the only things discussed were letter grades and the probability of failure.
Golden, isn't there an implied contract between a professor and his students?
Well, it's stretching the definition, but yeah, I guess.
And isn't the withholding of pertinent information grounds for legal action?
Wait. Seiss, are you talking about legal action against the law school? You're crazy.
Why?
Where are you going to get a lawyer? Forget it. I mean, even if I felt you had a case, I couldn't take it. Besides, every partner at this firm went to this law school. They wouldn't let me do it.
Then I'll do it myself.
What?
I'll file pro se for myself. If you file on your own behalf, you don't have to be a member of the bar.
Look, most pro se lawsuits are filed by cranks. People suing the CIA because they think their phones are being tapped. Deranged husbands suing their mother-in-laws. Crazies.
Thanks, Golden.
So relax. I mean it, really. Just relax about it. And I'll see you there. Bye-bye.
Miss Robbins?
Oh, Mr. Seiss. Hello, how are you?
Fine.
Walk this way with you. I'm a little late.
I'm glad I caught you. I need to correct something that I said.
Which is?
I told you I was going to graduate with honors. I may not be.
I don't understand you, Mr. Zeiss. One either graduates with honors or doesn't.
My grades haven't changed.
Wait.
It's just...
I think we're both a little confused here. So why don't we just stick to the facts? Did the law school award you honors or not?
It didn't, but...
I see. Mr. Zeiss, I've interviewed over 40 students in the past 3 days. We'll be making our hiring decision tomorrow. Good afternoon.
Miss Robbins?
Mr. Seiss, the case of Hadley versus Baxendale involved a flour mill and a broken crankshaft.
Yes, sir. The defendant's clerk was told that the shaft must be delivered immediately, and it wasn't.
So, the mill was idle for an additional 5 days. Why then did not the court order the defendant to pay the plaintiff the full value of 5 days lost?
It wouldn't have been fair.
Fair, Mr. Seiss? Would you tell me what is fair? Was it fair for the mill owner to wait for delivery of the vital part? So, the court was wrong in its judgment, Mr. Seiss?
I think so.
You think so, Mr. Seiss. Well, what do you know? Everyone thinks, Mr. Seiss. Some of us must reach a decision. How should the court assess damages? How?
I don't know!
Zeiss, hi.
Hi, Hart.
I'm sorry about the job.
Wasn't my week. I really wanted it. I like them.
You want to go get some coffee?
No, thanks. I can't.
Well, what are you working on?
I'm going to file an injunction against the law school.
What?
Have you ever really thought about how much we've learned here? Look at this, Hart. For every problem, a solution. For every wrong, the tools to make it right. Oh, we may not have passed the bar yet, but we are lawyers just the same. I'll ask for an expedited appeal and prove irreparable damages if they don't award me honors.
Oh, Zeiss, you're just hurt.
You're right, I am. But I'm not a first-year student anymore. I'm not going to let them push me around. I deserved honors. I can prove it.
Yeah, but suing the law school is out of bounds.
Why? Is not the school a corporation? Does it not apply for a state license? Is not the degree which it confirms upon us a bond which we hold out to the general public? And does not that relationship to the general trust require a concomitant trust on the part of the school itself?
But you're carried away. Suing the law school, you gotta be joking.
No, I wouldn't joke about a thing like this.
Besides, before you take an internal administrative issue like this to a court, you have to exhaust your available remedies here at the law school. You have to make an internal appeal.
Hart, when are you going to learn? There are no appeals. Kingsfield is the judge, jury, and the appellate court. This is the only way.
But this law school, it's like our family. Do you sue your family?
My family wouldn't treat me like this.
You know, 100 years ago, you only needed one set of books to practice law in the U.S. Today, the law takes up 8 floors in this library. We're being buried with papers, Zeiss. We're cranking out laws, arguments, briefs faster than we can read them. I mean, hotshot law firms are constantly coming up with new people to sue. Rock stars for the lyrics they write, dramatists for the plots they write. I mean, lawyers and lawsuits are no longer the solution. We're becoming more and more part of the problem. You haven't even finished school yet. And already, instead of trying to talk things out, reason things out, you're ready to blast everybody with lawsuits. I mean, we try to paper over our problems. Sue our way out of difficulty. Slice it won't work.
No, Hart, no. The law is here for us to use, to right wrongs.
Yeah, but most of the problems have nothing to do with the law. They're inside us. We have to stop leaning on the law and expecting it to help us out of our difficulties.
My problems are real.
Yeah, but a lawsuit isn't necessarily the way to solve them. I mean, fundamentally, your right is to leave this law school if you don't like it.
You're just saying that my problems aren't important enough to justify a lawsuit.
Yeah, and that's part of it. I mean, I don't have this whole thing figured out yet. I just know that we can't foist our problems on judges and lawyers and expect them to fix it. They can't.
Easy for you to say.
Martin Zeiss has filed suit against the law school. He charges our policies of awarding honors based on a numerical grade as a breach of contract. He's asking for a preliminary injunction alleging irreparable harm if he doesn't graduate magna.
Very interesting.
I think we should nip this in the bud. Does one law student think he can mar the graduation exercises for the whole school? Frankly, Charles, I think this Zeiss needs psychiatric help.
You intend to present the law school's side of the issue through a psychiatrist? Not the most logical tactic to pursue. This pro se complaint is drafted with a considerable élan. It appears on its face to be professional in all respects. I can see only one logical response.
Call Mr. Zeiss in and attempt to reason with him?
Since we have both already met with him, I'm afraid any such attempt would be futile. Since this is an expedited complaint, the court will undoubtedly request a conference in chambers immediately. I suggest we prepare for it. One can be reasonably certain Mr. Zeiss will do so.
What do you want to talk to me about?
Harriman, hi. Look, you thought you were going to graduate Summa, didn't you?
All right, Zeiss, I admit it. I think I deserved a Summa, and yes, I'm angry about it.
I'm not trying to rub anything in. I expected to graduate magna. Look, Harriman, I think we have something in common. The law school screwed us both. How'd you like to join my lawsuit as an intervening party?
Join your what?
I'm suing the law school.
Zeiss, are you an idiot? You can't sue the law school.
I've already filed.
Then you can forget about being a lawyer. Zeiss, no one will ever hire you. Every graduate of this law school would take the school's side.
Fine. If you don't want to join the case,
I don't even want to be near you. Zeiss, this school made you, and the way you repay it is to sue it.
Harriman, I've got a legitimate grievance.
That you weren't good enough for honors, that's legitimate.
Hi, stranger. You going for a federal jurisdiction?
Yeah.
How?
Diversity. I'm still a legal resident of New York.
Hope that holds up. Did you file pro se or hire a lawyer?
What are you going to do about discovery?
You didn't plead damages.
Are you going to have time to file these injunction papers?
Did you name Kingsfield in the complaint?
Oh, Professor Kingsfield, I hadn't wanted to trouble you with this.
What is this?
I'm having legal difficulties.
A nuisance suit. A very aptly named form of litigation.
Professor Tyler said I should simply turn it over to my insurance company, but I think I want to fight it.
You asked Professor Tyler for advice?
Well, I tried not to take up too much of her time.
Why didn't you come to me?
Well, you're terribly busy, and, well, I know that better than anyone.
Well, I see you have some time to dispose of this. As soon as I'm through with Mr. Seiss, we'll sit down and decide on the proper strategy.
Professor, do you think I behaved foolishly in pursuing this?
One never behaves foolishly when one does what one thinks is right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Professor.
Your Honor, though we are adversaries here, I'm sure I speak for both of us when I say we would welcome a speedy resolution to the question before us.
Good. Now, Mr. Zeiss, you are taking the position that the law school is in breach of contract with you by not awarding you honors. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. At the beginning of school, we paid our tuition. The school represented that it would grade on a letter basis, and in fact has done so consistently. Indeed, on the first day of contract law, Professor Kingsfield himself, addressing the entire class, said that there would be letter grades. But I relied to my detriment on that promise because I discovered that honors at graduation are based on a numerical grading system. This number system has denied me the honors that my letter grades entitle me to. As a matter of elementary contract law, I should get the thing I bargained for. High honors in exchange for the letter grade average I earned.
I would concede that there was a contract between Mr. Seiss and the school, but the contract entered into was that Mr. Seiss would pay tuition and that we would educate him. In fact, Mr. Seiss gave himself to the school to do with as it thinks best. The grading system is not the core of our education. It's merely a measure of its success. The school, within the bounds of the contract, could decide to grant or not to grant honors, or even not to grade at all.
Your Honor.
All right. That clarifies your positions. Dean Perry, can you conceive of any circumstance at all under which the law school might be willing to grant Mr. Zeiss's request to graduate with honors?
Mr. Zeiss has been judged by the same criteria as all the other students. He has failed to measure up to our standards for honors. We will not reconsider.
Mr. Zeiss, is there an alternative that might satisfy you?
No, Your Honor.
You both seem inflexible on this issue. Am I correct? Last chance, gentlemen. Well, apparently we can't solve this here today. So we'll have to move to the next step and try to determine whether or not this court has any jurisdiction over the matter at all. You'll be expected to present your arguments at a hearing on Monday. And that, gentlemen, is all.
He won.
A skirmish, not the war.
He's out for blood.
He's out to graduate magna cum laude.
With a performance like that, he should.
Stotts, I won. I won the case. We argue it on Monday.
Zeiss, you shouldn't even be here.
Stotts, I went mano a mano with Kingsfield, and I won. I won.
Zeiss, you're gonna give us a bad reputation. And Kingsfield's gonna think we're in on this.
Stotts, knock it off. Don't get paranoid on me.
Paranoid? You're the one who's suing the school.
Listen, don't you want to hear about this case? It's incredible.
Zeiss, I don't even want to see you. Kingsfield's gonna think the law review is supporting you in this.
Aren't you?
Zeiss, if the next person you want to sue is Santa Claus, that's your business. But I'm not a part of it. I think you're crazy. You're all gonna get us in a lot of big trouble. And I don't think you should be here unless you have permission from Hart. Excuse me.
Mrs. Nottingham, I've signed these letters.
Oh, thank you, Professor.
Mrs. Nottingham, you seem particularly cheerful today.
Oh, I am. I settled my lawsuit.
Oh, you let the insurance company take care of it?
Oh, no, I settled it myself.
Oh, will you tell us by what method?
Well, I baked my famous coffee cake, the one that Elizabeth always raves about, and I marched right into her kitchen, and I said I'm not going to leave until we've settled our differences. Well, 2 hours and half a coffee cake later, we were friends again.
Well, Mrs. Nottingham, you have just given us a perfect example of how such a case should be handled. You sought a remedy. You did not insist on a victory.
How's it going?
You care?
I asked, Zeiss. Yes, I care.
Well, being a real lawyer, a little tougher than I expected. I'm not going to cover all the issues I wanted to. I wanted to shepherdize all the state cases. Forget it.
You can't cover them?
Rita, I'm not only my own lawyer, I'm my own secretary. I got to get this stuff typed, copied, collated, and to court by 9 a.m.
You can't do it, Zeiss.
Who knows? But I can do everything I can.
Come in. Yes, Paul.
Sir, these are the briefs in the Zeiss case. I've personally reviewed them. They were prepared by our outside counsel, Blevins and Forster. If I may say so, sir, they are excellent.
Leave them, Paul. I do want to look at the citations.
You'll find them all in order, of course. I checked them all. Additionally, I computerized the brief and cross-referenced to lawsuits filed at other universities.
Nevertheless, I want to check them.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Zeiss, I hope your preparation is going well.
Yes, sir.
I've just been looking over Zabriskie versus the University of Illinois, a case which I'm sure will interest the court.
Yes, I was just trying to find that.
Well, your search is ended, Mr. Zeiss. Here.
Thank you, Professor. Professor? Thank you, Professor Kingsfield.
Gentlemen, you know, this is a preliminary hearing to determine whether or not a court should hear this case. Are you prepared to present your arguments?
Your Honor, we are.
Yes, sir, I am.
Very well. Let us begin. Professor Kingsfield?
Your Honor, the school contends that this dispute over whether Mr. Seiss should be awarded honors is an internal matter for a court to inquire as to the grades that are given or how the educational process is conducted would be intrusive.
Your Honor.
Mr. Zeiss.
Is it intrusive for the court to determine a contractual matter?
The courts traditionally recognize that certain relationships, priest and parishioner, parent and child, teacher and student, are best left outside legal jurisdiction.
The law school is not a church, nor is a law professor a priest. Religious doctrine is given special protection from judicial interference under the First Amendment, but no such protection is given to secular education. This is a simple contractual matter. I will prove that the law school breached my contract by arbitrary grading.
Professor Kingsfield, how do you respond?
Grades at the law school are not given arbitrarily. Our system of grading has been in existence for decades. We don't claim that it's flawless. However, society demands a definitive gauge of achievement, and therefore we are obligated to have this method by which we judge.
But, Your Honor, in fact, this method of grading is arcane, archaic, and purely subjective. For example, how can our mastery of the Socratic method be measured accurately or objectively to 3 decimal places?
It is through training in the Socratic method that a lawyer's mind comes into being. For what good is information without a mind trained to process it? We exist in a vast spider web of rules and regulations. What matters is the map which exists in the mind of the lawyer as he or she guides clients through this bramble bush. The law grows, changes, like a living being. We will never know what the law is. We can only hope to learn the tools with which to study it. And that is what the Socratic method is. Now, in a time that the law has exploded in unchecked growth, the lawyer's job will be carefully to prune it back. But like a good gardener, he can only do that job with the proper tools. I must point out to Mr. Seiss that the considerable ability he is demonstrating at this very moment is a tribute to the success of the Socratic method of education. One final comment. I cannot speak for all law schools, but only for my own. We do not need a court or brittle laws to instruct our affairs. I cannot speak for all lawyers or all students, but I can speak to my own. The pruning, which I mentioned, must begin now. The law should not intrude into the relationships I have with my students. In my law school, we are still a family. My students' relationships to me and mine to them form a country of its own, hallowed ground into which no court, no judge should dare to intrude. I have taught the law and its vital role in our lives for over 50 years. And I'm convinced that there are areas in which the law must not intrude.
Thank you, Professor Kingsfield. Gentlemen, since this is an expedited hearing, I'm called upon to make an immediate ruling. This court finds that it has no jurisdiction. The suit will be dismissed. Mr. Zeiss, if you disagree with the decision of this court, you may appeal.
Good day, sir. Miss Robinson called.
Robinson and Brown.
She read the recommendations you sent.
And, well, she should. Mrs. Brown was one of my students, not one of the better ones. I have got your name right. You are Mr. Zeiss.
Yes, sir. I'm Mr. Zeiss.
Now, Mr. Zeiss, could you tell the class on what basis damages should be determined?
Do you mean because a promise of delivery was broken or because the mill was idle for 5 days?
What do you mean, Mr. Zeiss?
Thought I'd find you in here.
It scared me, Hart.
He scared all of us. A messenger brought this for you at the review.
It's from Robinson and Brown.
Aren't you gonna open it?
What the hell? I got the job.
Hey, congratulations.
I got the job! I wonder what made them change their minds. I'm still not graduating with honors.
Maybe somebody saw you at the hearing and recommended you.
Who? The only people there are students, the judge.
And could it possibly be?